The big news in the Star Trek world lately has been the announcement Season 5 of Discovery, due out in 2024, will also be the final season. And with that, one more slot opens for the many-rumored series to be either in production or in the works, including Tilly's Starfleet Academy series, the possible Picard spin-off, and of course the much-anticipated Section 31. Hi, and welcome back to Katie's Corner in Space and Volume 13 of the Star Trek Void, where we attempt to dig up some interesting tidbits to help get us through the gap between new episodes. Don't forget to take a moment and vote for the items you would like to see in the Channel Trekkie giveaway, which will happen during Picard Season 3 Episode 5 review this Friday. So let yourself be heard, then come back to enter and win. Now, since we started with Discovery, then we should absolutely talk about Michelle Yeoh's Oscar win, and yet another stride made for people of color being recognized in the arts. Well done, Michelle. My husband and I absolutely loved the movie, and so I can't help but agree with the choice. So well deserved. I should also mention Anthony Rapp and the success of his show, Without You, which has been extended through June 11th now. So there is still time to grab a ticket if you are in the New York area. If, of course, you'd prefer a truly Trek-tacular show, might I suggest Kahn The Musical, with an opening night scheduled for Saturday, May 6th at 7 p.m. at the Players Theater, also in New York. This imaginative show is the brainchild of a fan who fell in love with Star Trek through the movies, Brent Black. The show, co-written, composed, lyrics by Brent Black, co-conceived, and additional materials by Alina Morgan, and directed by John Lamp, has the official description as follows. It is 2366, and Data the Android presents his campy musical adaptation of The Wrath of Khan. In this sci-fi send-up, the older Captain Kirk is experiencing a coming-of-middle-age story when his nemesis Khan escapes exile and vows revenge. The ensuing cat-and-mouse game sparks an adventure that includes Vulcan tap dancing, Kirk's long-lost son, a William Shatner impersonator, and of course, mutant space chickens. So it should be pretty funny and entertaining whether you happen to be a Trekkie or not. As for what's to come on Trek, the speculation of guest appearances on Picard is still going strong. The now visitor as Kira is nearly assured if Picard heads to DS9. Some fans like myself feel Quark has a good chance of showing up, while many hope this will be the push needed for Sisko to come back. And after all, with the changeling angle, he is one of Starfleet's most experienced. And it's not like writing him out of the Celestial Temple, either temporarily or permanently, would be that difficult. Avery coming back would be an achievement. Like many previous stars, Avery has not necessarily had any interest in reprising his role. Instead, he's focused on his musical career, acting limitedly. However, as of late, he's also stated he'd be interested in coming back for the right story. So what used to be a hard no has become a maybe. However, one actor asked to return for Picard turned it flat down, and that actor was Beltran. But obviously not because he has no interest in reprising his role. After all, he's already done so on Prodigy. So why would he turn down the role on Picard? Well, as he states, it just wasn't the story he wanted to pursue, while Chakotay's story on Prodigy is one he liked. And while I have to agree, if you can choose to do what you like, rather than just what others would like you to do. I mean, I sit here and chat about TV, so yeah. Speaking of a good chat, I just had to include some interviews this week because there were some good ones. And funnily enough, a character we love and one we pretty much hate, though I don't strictly condone hate, just severe dislike. I, for one, always like getting the bad out of the way. Not that Todd is bad. He's actually a delight as far as I can tell. But boy, does he play Shaw in a way that really brings out the extreme dislike in me. So having the opportunity to hear from Todd was one I wanted to share here for anyone who'd missed it, especially after last week's reveal. And Todd is a real nerd at heart, which I really love. It's one of the reasons I like Will Wheaton so much. Got to love those fellow nerds. And Todd's nerdiness starts with Ghostbusters, Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars, and keeps going through his joy of illustrating as a child, and of course Star Trek and sci-fi in general. Listening to Todd chat about his childhood loves, his supportive parents, and his one hope to someday be cast on SNL was illuminating, and I thoroughly loved how he designed his life for success as best he could. In fact, thanks to a piece of advice, he had one goal after school.
That was I was just hell-bent for leather, like all through college. When you get out, you go when you get a job, tearing tickets to Second City. Yeah. Just do that. Just get in the ground level and like join the circus, man.
And that first step was reached, putting him inside of his goal.
And that was all with the goal of going, someday I want to do Saturday Night Live. Because I wanted to be...
That was the end game.
Ultimately, at 23, that was the end game, was because I wanted to be on SNL.
Yeah.
And though he didn't get his SNL spot, he easily pivoted and kept at it.
And so then it was like, okay, if it's not SNL, I want to do a half-hour sitcom, because this was the height of Friends and the height of Will and Grace, and I just want to do a half-hour sitcom. That's what I'm going to do. And I came out to LA, and I booked several half-hour pilots that didn't go to series. Like, this sounds weird because there's a band called it, but I've done 21 pilots.
Really?
Yeah.
As we all know, his career did pick up, and by the time he had made it to Picard, you'd be hard-pressed not to have seen him in something. And as he came onto the show, he took up the mantle of captain with the support of his new crew and the old hats.
So when I got to set, Terry had already said, hey, my buddy Todd's coming in, and so I walked into a very warm room. This was like, well, this is your bridge, so own it, and this is your ship, so own it, and people let me do it.
Of course, getting the part wasn't automatic, even though the part was written for him.
Hey, we got this part for you on Picard season 3, and then my joke is, I was like, well, that's great. I can't wait to get to see who plays it.
Because nothing's for sure until you sign on the dotted line. But ultimately, we got Mr. Stashwick as the ever-aggravating Captain Shaw. And as we know, he's done a fantastic job. And so seeing how happy he is to have the part and to be part of Trek is a real joy. Because you want the people involved with the show you adore to adore the opportunity. And for him, it was like a childhood dream come true. And you can see the entire interview in the links below. Of course, I did say there was another interview, this one more recently with the incomparable Jeri Ryan, who I still get a kick out of appearing on a show with another Trek alum, Jerry O'Connell. O'Connell, of course, had the captain's chair provided.
Yeah. There we go. All right, here's the best part. Ready? The real deal. Oh my God, it's the spinniest chair in the world. I know. Best.
And she was ready for a chat, but of course didn't say much concerning the episode yet to come, but for a trailer teasing some information we kind of already know. Instead, she shared how her family wrote together, which her daughter has excelled at. However, after her husband fell for the second time, he stopped, and after Jeri saw more people fall, she thought she'd quit while she was ahead because
You don't bounce at this age. You break.
So you're undefeated.
And of course, she also shared the experience of meeting Robert Redford as she joined the cast of Dark Winds. But what is wonderful to hear is what a great experience she had joining the TNG crew for the comeback. And the talk ended with a hint of her further appearances on future iterations of Trek. But we will still have to wait before we have any solid news on that one. Now, if you have really enjoyed Terry Matalas's way of telling the story of Star Trek, then go to terrytrek.com and sign the petition to have him continue with the further 25th century Trek. He's had a great respect for not only Gene's vision, but the hopeful Trek I grew up with. It may seem darker, but especially after last week's episode, the underlying foundation is still hope. With the questions about the future of Trek, will we be getting Tilly Starfleet Academy so we can stay in the 32nd century, or are we headed to Section 31 in an unannounced time? Possibly that Picard spinoff with Captain Seven and the Titan crew. Really, it's anyone's guess what may turn up, but when we find out, I'll share it here. And until then, please enjoy one of these Trek videos, and I'll see you there.